Hi there, welcome back to my channel. This is the Nomadic Budgeter, and today we're going to go over my financial goals for the first part of 2024. But before we get into that, I want to catch you up on where I've been and what I've been doing that has been working and what I've been doing that hasn't been working. So there's more to say about the latter. But moving back a couple of years to 2022, I started using the cash envelope system to budget for my lifestyle. So a little bit about me, I'm someone that does seasonal work. That means I typically work between 7 or 8 months out of the year, and I take 2 contracts. So my contracts are anywhere between 90 days or maybe 100, 120 days. It really depends. They're usually in 2 different locations. So right now I'm in Utah. That's where I actually was 2 years ago when I was using cash envelopes, and it was very successful for me. I wasn't earning a whole lot of money, but I was using the cash envelope system to be an effective tool in being able to do what I wanted to do, which was to drive up to Alaska and work during that summer, and then drive back down to the lower 48 and travel Europe. And I was able to do all of those things because of the budgeting that I had learned about through the cash envelope system, and that really worked out for me. One thing about cash envelopes that doesn't really work for me is that my lifestyle requires a lot of moving around, and sometimes I'm living out of my car camping and having these road trip adventures. There have been times recently where I'm traveling South America and utilizing buses to get around and things like that, and it's just not effective or safe for me to be carrying cash in envelopes in large sums. So what I was having to do was lump sum deposit all of my cash envelopes into a bank when I had one locally, but that wasn't always the case either. Last winter I spent about 90 days living on a small island on Hawaii. I wasn't always able to get cash out as needed to cash stuff envelopes when I was trying, and so it just becomes a little bit more chaotic for me because of my lifestyle than somebody that lives in one place where they're able to have a safe or have things more secure than I can. However, the method really works for me, and so as you'll see in the preceding videos, I've adopted my own methodology with the cash envelopes to make it work for me. Over the past couple of years, I've had some wins and some major losses with how I've been handling my finances. Because I will go a couple months at a time not working and then start working again, I sort of can tend to overspend when I'm first getting those paychecks. Or in some cases, I've been paying back people that I've had to borrow money from to bridge the gap, which I need to stop doing. I don't want to do that anymore. And so this is where over the past couple of months, I've really taken command control over my finances, and I want to share that process with you and just hold myself accountable, maybe hopefully help somebody or inspire somebody. And I also realize that I do live a very unconventional lifestyle, but it's something that can be really saving grace for people that are in situations where maybe they are having a difficult financial situation and they need to get out of it. Because as part of my seasonal work contract, there are some expenses that you will not see come through on my finances. A big one of those is rent. I do pay a form of rent, usually most places I work, but it is subsidized by employers and it comes directly out of my paycheck. For example, where I live now, I'm living in Utah in a desirable location. I have my own room and I have one roommate in this brand new apartment building. I'm paying $700 a month for that. That includes utilities. I have an in-unit washer and dryer. I have internet provided, so I don't pay anything on top of that $700 a month to live here. I do have to buy my own food, but I also have a subsidized food program through work. So what I have to buy is actually very, very limited. And a lot of that is just out of preference, honestly. My living situation is not atypical for a seasonal employee. In fact, this is sort of the standard. And I mention all of this because it works for me in my financial situation, in my life situation, and it provided housing, but also new experiences for me as an adult and somebody who was not in a situation that could really put a roof over my own head. I didn't have like a big lump sum deposit. And, you know, when you're in a situation where you sometimes just have to get away from something or just step into something new, like I just wanted to mention that this is something that's really great about the seasonal work lifestyle, is that it can afford those opportunities. That being said, there is a degree of instability with the work because it is for a short amount of time, and then it's not very difficult to find a secondary work contract for the year, but there will usually be a gap of employment in between. So something that I need to do is learn to bridge that gap better than I have in the past. And so this is where we get into what my financial goals are for this part of 2024. Because my finances will be different during the summer, I just kind of think about them separately. So right now, until I reach the end of my current contract, which will be mid-April, I want to achieve the goals that I'm about to list for you. So that's my timeline for achieving these goals. If I don't achieve them by then I'll resume work on them when I resume work again in June. So looking at the worksheet in front of me, it says focus on the step in front of you, not the whole staircase. And I would kind of consider this phase 1 of my new financial journey. So this is the first step. And what it's going to do is work on getting me in a secure financial position for the first part of the year that will bridge the gap between when my current contract ends in mid-April until my next contract starts in mid-June, in June, with my first paycheck being predicted in mid-June. I also want to have money set aside in case anything pops up. So I'm gonna talk about an emergency fund and then just cleaning up some of the mess that I've made recently so that in phase 2, I can really start taking steps towards the future. So right now is just about securing myself and cleaning up a little bit of the mess. With that being said, let's get into the specifics of the goals. Now I'm gonna set these goals in order of priority, and some of that is factoring in where I'm currently standing in terms of some of these things. So like, I might think on the outset my emergency fund should be number 1, but I actually have a healthy amount in my emergency fund, so I'm going to prioritize paying my taxes. That is the number 1 thing I need to have done by mid-April, which is when they're due, but it's also when my contract ends. So my paychecks will end for a while. Number 2 is being 2 months ahead. And this is going to be my living expenses, so my fixed expenses, and then my sort of like groceries, gas, fun money, things like that, just my cash wallet expenses, as well as my bills. So I want to be 2 months ahead on that, and that's a top priority because my paychecks will end and I need to bridge that gap, and this is kind of, not being ahead on this is where I've been getting myself into some trouble. Number 2 is pay off debt. I owe a small amount of debt to a couple of different creditors, and we'll talk about that. So I just kind of want to get that knocked out so I can clean up the past and in phase 2, just start moving forward on my journey. Number 4 is emergency be funded on my emergency fund. And then all of these are top priorities, I think very serious needs. My fifth high priority is my travel fund. And that is because I will be spending a couple of months or month and a half traveling between the end of this work contract and the next work contract. So this 2 months ahead will pay for my necessities. And I have people I could stay with. I could have a roof over my head. I could have all my 4 walls taken care of with this. But this is the fun money. This means I get to go do something and not touch any of these other funds where I'm starting to save here. This could be, you know, just my backup, and then this is just paying those bills, where the travel money is, you know, the extra gas and all of those camping fees and restaurants or whatever exploring I might want to do will be coming from that travel fund. So the next part of this worksheet is to look at the first steps, and I'm going to break down each of these into what I need to be doing on a regular basis in order to achieve these over essentially the next 9 weeks, because that's pretty much all I have left here. So first, looking at taxes. The goal amount to pay for taxes is $1,906. I am having someone take a second look at these, and so this number might change, but I want to be ready for this number just in case that is what I need to pay. I have currently already saved $472 for my taxes, which means that I have $1,434 left to save, and I want to save that over 9 weeks. So divided by 9, which is $160 per week. Okay, we're at $160 per week for taxes. Number 2 is months ahead. And the total dollar amount for me to be 2 months ahead is $2,000, because my fixed expenses and my cash envelope living expenses are almost $1,000 a month. So if I have $2,000 in total, that'll have me pretty comfortable. And I currently have saved in my sinking funds $905 for that. So that wants me to save $1,095 more. And over 9 weeks, that gets me to $160 per week. Oh, is that right? No, 100. Whoopsie. 122. Let me just write that all over again. 122. Okay, $122 a week for my months ahead. And the next one is debt. So I owe I owe 2 different creditors. One is $416, and then the other one is $107. So $524. $524 is what I owe, and divided by 9 equals, I'm looking at my notes here because the only calculator I have is my phone, which I'm currently filming with. So we are doing debt. Oh, actually, Let me back up a little bit. Sorry, I'm making a mess out of this, but I don't need to divide that yet. I need to subtract 171 because that's what I have already saved for it. So that is 353, and then divide that by 9, which equals $40 a week. Nice. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Now let's look at my emergency fund. So my current amount that I want to save for my emergency fund is $3,000. I think with my liabilities being quite low, basically just my car, like if something devastating were to happen with my car, then that's what I would essentially need to cover. So $3,000 seems like a fair amount for that. I've also, this winter, why I'm kind of only have 9 weeks left to work and I'm kind of just getting started on some of these. I mean, I've made some small dents in it, but it's because I've actually put several $1,000s into my car. When I was driving down to Utah from Washington, I did a little road trip, and it was at that point, basically leaving Washington, that I hit 100,000 miles on my vehicle. And so I realized that was a bit of a wake-up call, and it was time for me to look into what kind of maintenance things needed to be done, other than the oil changes that I was getting done and occasional tires. And I had a battery replaced, but like, what are some of the other things that need to be done? So I've been looking into those and ticking off that list over the past couple of months. And I've put, like I said, several $1,000s into it. I have brand new winter tires. I have a set of brand new spring and summer tires. I need to save the money in order to make that transition in the spring. But I've gotten my oil changed, my transmission fluid exchanged, my front and rear differential fluid exchanged, my brakes checked. I had some work done on my front brake assemblies. I had a repair done to my washer fluid reservoir. So there's a number of things that I've already invested in my car. And so having $3,000 saved right now, or by mid-April, for my emergency fund is a number that I feel comfortable with at the moment, considering all the other things that I'm trying to fund as well. So right now I actually have saved a healthy amount to this, as I alluded to earlier, and I have saved $2,200. So I am only $800 shy of my goal, which is why I'm like pushing these ones forward to pay off, or to do first. But honestly, like, I'm listing them in number of priorities, but as long as I'm hitting these numbers with what my paychecks are, that will not be a problem. I will achieve all of these by mid-April. So $800 divided by 9, which is the number of weeks I have left of employment, is going to be $88 per week. Okay. And then travel gets to be on the second row here, because it is not the largest priority, although it is kind of a large sum. The number I have in mind right now is $2,500. And honestly, I think 1,000 of that will probably be in gas alone. So I will do a future video on my breakdown of what I think my travel expenses are going to be based on historical data. And I'm going to start saving into each bucket of like different travel expenses, like accommodations, transit, food, whatever, entertainment, in a broken down way. But right now I'm just heading towards that lump sum of $2,500, so I can make sure that I am saving with each paycheck the appropriate amount. And so right now I only have $140 saved, and you can see that this is definitely like hasn't been a top priority for me. So I still need to save $2,000 and 360, and I divide that by 9, which equates to, on a weekly basis, $262. So I definitely have to start saving much more aggressively towards this number. So now let's take a look at what the total of all of these are. So high priority, that's what these are. And let's add 160 plus 122 plus 40 plus 88 plus 262 is 7, 8, 9, 13, 21, 27, so 2, 4, 6, $672. Weekly. That's how much I need to be putting towards these categories in order to reach my financial goals by mid-April. This is achievable. I wouldn't be setting a goal that isn't achievable. So we could do this, and this will be my first step in building a more secure situation, because I'm really enjoying my life, but I do create a lot of additional stress for myself with my finances because I don't always stop and do this and break it out and see what the real numbers are. Sometimes I take for granted that I can get by with just $1,000 a month. And I'm just like, okay, if I leave this work contract with $2,000, then I'll be fine until I get paid again. But inevitably, I end up spending more money than just the absolute bare minimum because I want to travel and things come up, and I'm not accounting for that. So here's to making better decisions moving forward, and we're taking the first step in front of us. And that's what this is. The $672 a week is going to make all the difference. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you will follow along on the rest of my journey. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. The next video I have coming up will be my planning for my first paycheck, or my next paycheck, I guess. My first paycheck in this new plan. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.